Imagine buying a new car, and before you can even make it home, you have to call a tow truck. That's not the ideal situation. So this video is going to be important to you because you don't want to waste your hard-earned money on a vehicle that's going to cost you more than maybe what you paid for it, or at least more than what you expected to pay for it up front. So stay tuned. Before we get too far into it, we have to address the elephant in the room. There are many times you're going to buy a used car from someone and you won't figure out what's wrong with it until you drive it home. That's the sad reality of buying used vehicles, but there are ways to prevent you from ending up with the short end of the stick when purchasing a used vehicle. First, if you're looking to purchase a used car, make sure you know about cars. If you don't, bring somebody who does. But the individual that you bring shouldn't be a yes man. It shouldn't be somebody that is going to just agree to everything that the owner says about the vehicle. They have to be somebody that's going to stand up for you in this situation or this dealing. So if you can't do that, if you don't know who that person is, just think about your dad, your mom, or your boyfriend or somebody like that. And if your boyfriend doesn't know anything about vehicles, then it might be time to leave him because he's going to cost you more money than he's worth. Just kidding. Or am I? I might be. Anyway, so if they don't know mechanics, don't bring them. If they're just coming along just to listen, then hey, I mean, if that's what you want to do, but more people that come along, the more distracted you are when you're actually looking at the vehicle. So first thing, you should consider Googling common issues related to the vehicle. If you can tell that the vehicles are pretty typical, then many issues that occur with the vehicle you're looking at, in this case it's a Lexus GS430, are going to be wrong with many other vehicles. Like on this vehicle, the window actuators, the door lock actuators are known for going out. I had one that was bad. Well, it wasn't bad when I bought the car, but it went bad like right after. And I had another one, I was putting some speakers in and I accidentally dropped the door and it was still connected, and that was my fault. But long story short, Google it and see what's wrong with those vehicles in general. There should be a list somewhere or some forum where a lot of people are going around talking about what their issues are and the fixes for it. That way you can get a gauge on how much it costs and how you can negotiate with the seller in that situation. So once you find that vehicle and decide to test drive it, it's all hands on at that point. First, you're going to review the outside of the vehicle. You're going to be looking for major damage or anything that stands out, like paint. See, this paint is shiny, doesn't have any, wrinkles in it. They're not really called wrinkles, but you can tell when someone repaints a body panel and they don't use the most quality paint, because if they do that, then it will have this oily look to it versus just the smooth shininess from the factory. So you're going to look around for that. Also, as you're walking around, you're going to look at these panels. You're going to check the gap and try to ensure that it is generally even along the vehicle. As you can tell, mine wasn't even on that side. On this side, it's decently even, but my hood was replaced at some point. And that is how I knew that it was replaced, because I looked at this gap right here and I see where the metal was contacting metal and they freshened up the paint on it. That is a tall tale sign that something occurred at some point, because every accident doesn't make it to the Carfax, which is another thing. You should definitely make sure you get the Carfax if you can, so you can know what accidents this vehicle has been through, because it could have been through like 6 accidents or something like that, and that depreciates the value of the vehicle exponentially. And you don't want to find that out when you go to sell it and they're like, oh, you had like 5 major accidents. You're like, oh, so that's why my car always leans to the left. Or something weird like that. So now that we looked at the outside, we checked everything out. The tires look fine, the paint looked fine. There were no obvious imperfections We're gonna take it to the inside of the vehicle. We're gonna look at the interior. We're looking for major imperfections, anything obvious. We're checking for wet floors. So we're gonna reach around here, make sure you touch, lift up the floor mats, look under the floor mats, because this is a common area where water will puddle. And if water is puddling in your car, it's gonna cause rust and mold. While you're right here next to the seat, go ahead and test the function. Make sure it goes up and down and whatever else it's supposed to do from the factory. This is an automatic seat, so I can't really let it down too fast. Y'all may not have noticed what I was doing. It's a little slow, but it is electric. It's electric. Wiggy, wiggy, wiggy. Checking the back door. No obvious imperfections. The back of the seats. The floors again. Checking for water. Any giant puddles, or not puddles, but water stains. You check the seat to see if there's any tears or rips that are probably going to get bigger every single time the car warms up and cools down. Check the headliner. Make sure it's not sagging. Depending on how much you spent for the car, I mean, that may be something that is occurring, to be honest. Because a more expensive car may not have a sagging roof liner, but a less expensive car is way more likely to have a sagging roof liner. Next, you're in the vehicle, looking around. Make sure you check the glove box, all the different storage compartments. See what's in there. Start clicking around. Like, ooh, what's that? Also, talk to the owner and ask them questions about stuff. You see some stuff in there that's weird, then ask them. Most people are likely to talk about their vehicle. Now, in my situation, and my seat is missing. It's actually in my living room right now because I'm taking it out. I was trying to test and see what size racing seats I could get for this vehicle. So obviously, if you get in the car and the whole passenger seat's missing, then that would be something to ask about. But I definitely know what's going on with this car because it is mine. And there's that headliner again. Checking the fabric. Everything looks good so far. You're sitting in the front seat, seeing how it feels. And go ahead and turn the key one click. See what happens. See if the radio comes on, any lights come on, the clock, and all that good stuff. Which it should. Don't know what that is, but I'm going to turn it off now. Now you're going to click it the second time. You're going to make sure all the warning lights come on. Every single warning light. I'm going to do that again. It's showing that the doors are open. And now all the warning lights are coming up. Then you're going to turn the vehicle on and make sure all the lights go off. So this is my seatbelt light because I'm recording and I don't have my seatbelt on. This is my airbag light because my passenger seat is gone temporarily. And this one right here is just saying that the doors are open. So once you do that, I'm gonna start toggling. Well, let me go around here. Let me go this way first. I'm gonna start toggling around with the radio. Check it out. Turn on the climate control. See what that's all about. Make sure your air conditioner is working. So we test that out. Feels good, nice and cold. And this time, you know, you'll start to notice the imperfections like this right here. The AC vent is all like lackadaisical at the bottom, but that happens on older cars. Now that I tested the AC, I'm gonna try climate again. I want to see if the heat works. I'm turning this thing up to 84 degrees. and the heat works. So now I'm going to turn the climate off, turn off the radio so I can hear what's going on, because once you hear the radio, that's good. You only have to hear it for a second. You hear what it sounds like. Don't get too excited and think, yeah, I'm about to turn the radio on. So you press all these different individual buttons and make sure they work properly. Info, display, audio button, destination for the GPS, which is definitely 20 years old, and etc. Gonna come over here and make sure that your coolant gauge, where's my finger? There's my finger. Your coolant gauge right there isn't going above that halfway mark while you're sitting here resting, well, while the car is sitting here resting. Also, you're gonna look at your RPMs and make sure those aren't bouncing all around. If they're sitting at 3/4 of 1,000 RPMs, just make sure it doesn't go up and down, up and down. You should be able to hear it in the vehicle. Coming over here to the door, you have automatic first and second person. You can check those out. You get a different angle on this thing. Once you check that out, you want to check out your windows. You used to have automatic up and down windows. So the window goes up. Make sure it goes all the way up and comes all the way down. Now you want to do that for each individual window. You also want to lock and unlock the doors and make sure, well, the doors are open, so it's not going to lock right now, but make sure all of the doors lock when you lock it. So we're going to go ahead and, well, we're not going to lock the doors at this moment since I have all the doors open. But that is something you should definitely check out. One of the last things you want to do is buy a car and none of the doors lock or none of the doors open. That would be extremely annoying, and you would have to fix it at some point, especially if you have kids. And mentioning kids, to the back seat again, you want to make sure you bring your car seats. All these vehicles, since like the 70s or 80s or something like that, are required to have a latch. You see that latch thing right there? So that basically says, hey, you can put a car seat back here. I'm trying to reach my hands back there, but I can't feel it, but I know it's there since I took the seat out. So you want to take your car seat, stick them back there. If they're forward facing, rearward facing, try them both ways so you know that even if your kid is backwards facing now, make sure it fits forward facing, which it should. But if you decide to have another kid, you only have one now, and you want to do rearward facing later on, which you will have to because the baby's really young, then you go ahead and put the seats in there. And that should be it with the interior. Again, make sure you check all the compartments. Make sure they open. You don't need any extra lock or anything like that. And as for the radio code, if they have it, and any wheel locks. If you have special wheels on there and you need wheel locks, make sure they give that to you, because if not, you may be asking for it later, or you might have a flat tire or something and you might need it. Better to have it than not. And now that we're done with the outside, we're gonna go ahead and, well, not the outside, the inside. We're gonna go ahead and pop the hood. So reach under here and try to find the hood lever. It's right there for this vehicle. Pop it. Make our way around to the front. Admire everything about the vehicle. Check it up and down. And before we open that hood, you can go ahead and check the windshield wipers and make sure the rubber at the bottom isn't coming apart. So you stand back, take a look at it, and you start going in and making sure everything looks right. Hopefully you have somebody that knows something about vehicles with you. If you don't, then the only thing you can really do is check for smells and any obvious leaks. Most of the leaks are going to be around the head gasket portion up here. Not the head gasket, but the valve cover. You know, you come around, you look around, check the battery date if you can see it. Most batteries have a date on it. They usually last about 3 years, depending on where you are. If you're in a really cold climate, it might not last that long. If you know how, you can check the air filter as well by popping your clips Make sure that, I don't want to pull it up while the car's running, but check the air filter and make sure there's not any crud under there. If there is crud under there and it's really, really dirty, then that tells you that the current owner didn't really take care of the vehicle. And check the ground, make sure there aren't any radiator leaks going on that you can't see yet. That's pretty much it for the engine bay. Just touch the cover as long as it's not too hot. Make sure it's running nice and smooth and it's not shaking all over the place. Also, if you can look down here at the belts, which I'm trying to get a good picture of, when it's not moving, you can look at the belt and see if there are any obvious cracks or anything like that. If there's obvious cracks, then that belt's going to need to be replaced. For a lot of vehicles like mine, there is also a timing belt that should be replaced systematically every maybe 60, 50,000 miles, 70,000 miles, depending on the vehicle. So you check that or ask them about it. If they have any modifications like this, you want to ask them when they got it, who put it on, how long has it been on there, has it ever come loose? You know, basic questions like that, so you know what the heck is going on before you drive away with it. And they're like, oh yeah, by the way, you need to tighten the bolts every 3 days or something weird like that. Then we're gonna head back inside. We're gonna check again to make sure the coolant is at half still or below. If it's freezing outside, it may not actually warm up to half for a long time. We're also going to check for these lights again. These are the same lights that were there before that I explained. Make sure the RPMs aren't bouncing all around. And just take a look around. You have your interior lights. You want to check all of those and make sure those work. You also want to check your exterior lights. So after you let the vehicle run for a little while, let it sit up, you talk to the owner, ask them questions about the family, all that kind of good stuff. You know, you just let it run. Make sure nothing weird happens over here. And you're gonna wanna check the engine oil down there. And you're gonna wanna check this cap as well to make sure it doesn't have any soot or anything like that. Basically illustrating that you are leaking some type of fluid into your oil. And those will be done when the vehicle is off. I say again, that will be done when the vehicle is off. Of course, you can take it off while the vehicle's running, but it's not a good idea. But I'll do it for y'all anyway. It's got a chunk missing out of it, I don't know. Hopefully that chunk was missing this whole time and it didn't just happen. That would not be good for me and my ownership of this vehicle. I don't remember seeing that. Again, while the vehicle's running, give it another walk around, check some stuff out, check the tires again, make sure they aren't leaking any air, double check the floors, look at the back seats. Pull everything out, just fiddle around with the car. See what it's capable of and what it's not capable of. Like this particular vehicle, the seats don't fold down, but you wouldn't know that if you didn't know too much about vehicles and you're just thinking like, hey, my mom's car has fold down seats, this vehicle should too, but it doesn't. So you just take your look around again, and that will be it for the interior and under the hood as well. Now it's time to drive. One thing we want to say before we drive, we want to let the owner know what you're about to do before you do it. The last thing you want to do is scare the crap out of some old person or somebody that owns the vehicle, and they may not want it driven hard. They may just be waiting on you to drive it like 2 feet and then say, yeah. Now on to the driving portion of this video. This can be one of the most awkward moments when looking at a vehicle, because a lot of people don't like being in the car with the owner or a salesperson. But you just have to take ownership of the vehicle like it's yours. So when you're on this test drive portion, one of the main things you're gonna look for is weird sounds, clicks, rattles, bangs, snap, crackle, pops, or whatever you want to call it. So if you're driving around normally in a parking lot like this that we're at now, you're gonna want to hit some figure eights. So with the figure eights, you're gonna get a chance to make left and right turns, and you're gonna listen. If you hear anything weird, like clicks when you're turning left or turning right, that's pretty much telling you that you have some type of suspension issue that would need to be worked out either now or after you purchase the vehicle. And you're gonna use that to negotiate on the price of the vehicle. And don't be afraid to give it a little speed. So in this situation, we don't hear anything. But if you did, then just take note of that and keep it in your mind. And you'll use it as a negotiation tool later on. Also, you're gonna want to slam on those brakes to make sure they work good, and make sure you can actually stop when you want to. And when you're getting on the brakes and letting off the brakes, actually listen to make sure they are engaging properly. Keep in mind, all vehicles are not the same. I have an older Lexus, and they're known for having like mechanical sounding brakes, meaning when you step on the brakes after you get them changed, you may hear like a little it's not too loud, but it's very annoying in the wintertime when the brakes are cold. Otherwise, you're just going to take as many turns and whatnot as you can. Roll the windows up, roll the windows down. Try to listen outside, listen to the inside, and hear how the cabin is settling, or if there's any shaking, harsh and noise and vibrations and stuff like that. See, I just missed that pothole, but you don't want to do that. You want to run straight through it. You're going to run straight through that pothole so you can upset the chassis and make sure there aren't any weird noises going on. And again, we're up to another stop sign. This is the perfect time to slam the brakes. Stops on a dime. Also, when you're test driving, you want to ensure you go on smooth roads and you get up to speed. This road, the speed limit's only 15 miles an hour. I'm doing like 25 now. But you want to take it on the highway. You don't want to just do stop and go in a little neighborhood or something like that. You want to find the nearest highway and give it the beans. So we're going to go straight through here, looking at all this uneven pavement. The vehicle still feels good. It feels planted. And we're going to swing a hard left. Again, make sure the vehicle owner or salesman knows that you're about to drive like a nut. Here we go on the smooth road. Blinded by the sun right now. But we're on a smooth road. When you're on a smooth road, you can feel the tires and you can tell if there's like a bald spot or something like that, or maybe if there's an imperfection in the actual tire itself. It should make itself evident when you're on a smooth road, because you'll feel like a lumping lump or something like that. If it's irregular, then it's probably just the road itself. I'm actually leaving the military base. So we are about to take it and give it the beans. Just like that little Ford Focus that just drove by. Maybe that was a Honda Civic. Can't see, I'm blinded by the sun. So as we mentioned, you're gonna go and give it all it's got. Maybe not all it's got. take it through its portions or take it through its gears. If you can drive it manually, even if it's an automatic, do that. Like now I have it in the lowest gear, and I'm about to give it everything. Again, make sure the owner knows you're about to beat the crap out of his car. And relax. At that moment, you're gonna check the gauges again. You just gave it all that you could. I just got up to highway speeds just then, and this is technically a, maybe it's not a highway, but it's something to be considered for YouTube purposes. So you're checking the gauges again, just making sure everything seems fine. Checking for smells, any weird noises after you just gave it the beans. If there's nothing weird going on, then the car might check out. Just when you take it back and you negotiate, just negotiate against everything that you know is wrong with the vehicle that was not announced in the posting of the vehicle when you look for it. So this is Keldon Williams of UTags Motoring. If y'all found this any bit interesting, like, subscribe, and if you have any questions, please ask. I love to talk about cars regardless. I know I just took this cell phone from the mountain and just stuck it in my face, but we all we got. See y'all next time.